Welcome everyone. I have up on the screen a finished image that we're going to be working toward, and after we have done some file preparation in kind of the first video, the next section that we're going to do is create the outline of this overall parcel. And we're going to do that by entering points from this table, right? We have a benchmark, which might be our USGS recognized some kind of mark, and then a number of survey points. So this is our table of where those points exist. And notice our benchmark is actually going to have an elevation. It's 4.49 feet, and its coordinates are going to be 0, 0. Everything else is relative to the benchmark according to how far north each point is and how far east each point is. So we'll go through how to create those points by simply entering data. Once we do that, then we're going to draw the lines that create this, the outline of this parcel. And then we will also create a line that's going to represent the center line of this 103rd Street. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to give you a chance. Either you can take a screen snip of this point table to use, or of course reference to an existing PDF. All right, bring up Civil 3D. And basically from the last video, we've kind of got a blank model space with a few types of points. So to create our points, we're actually going to now navigate into the menu area of Civil 3D. And we're going to go into our parcel creation tools. Sorry, not parcel, where am I at? Over in points. And we're going to be adding miscellaneous points, but we're going to do it by northing and easting. And I am going to just make sure that I get a table up that I can reference as we enter these points. And this has to be off screen so that I can reference it all the time. All right, so if I come back into Civil 3D, so points, miscellaneous, northing, easting, and I get a dialog box, which I don't really need. But if you look at the cursor, you can see that it's asking me to enter a northing. Well, I'm going to enter 0. It's now asking for an easting. I'm going to enter 0. It's asking for a description, and here I'm going to type benchmark. And the elevation is 4.49. And I happen to get lucky, right? I get a chance to see this point down here. But I also can see on my cursor that it's asking for another point. What's the northing? So what I'm going to do is simply enter 0.1, then 0.2, then 0.3, and 0.4. And all of those elevations are 0, and the description is described in the table. So as an example, 0.1 is going to be negative 101.07, enter. Negative 46.01, enter. The description is going to be FKPD, enter, and the elevation is 0, enter. Now, again, I got lucky. I can see this second point on my screen. Most of the points I enter aren't going to show up on my screen. They're going to be off the screen somewhere. So I just have to trust what I am entering. So 0.2, its northing is going to be negative 0.34. Enter. Its easting is 28.02. It's also an FKPD, and its elevation is 0. 0.3 3 is going to be negative 26.08. Enter 63.05. Enter, and this is now a POT style point, and its elevation is 0. So at this juncture, I am going to enter the rest of the points. You should do that on your screen as well, and we will come back and take a look at the completed set of points. And I happen to have all of the points entered. If I just scroll up a little bit, they happen to be visible on the screen. They may or may not be visible on your screen. What's important to understand is that one of these points, and I'm clicking on the one that I know, has the coordinates of 0, 0. Right? That's where my origin is. And by the way, that's my benchmark point. So I'm going to close this points dialog box, zoom out a little bit, and here are my points. And I know I want this 0, 0 to have a style of benchmark. And I just put in all these default points. So now I'm going to come back to my 0, 0 and turn it into a benchmark. Now I know where my styles are. So I also know that this is now my point 1, and I proceed around clockwise. So if I click on this point, notice in my file it's actually point 40, right? I've created lots of points before and after this video, but this is where the data for point 1 in the table is. And if we look down here, we can see that the easting is negative 46 as point 1 in the table, and the northing is negative 101. So if I scroll up, I know that I want this style to be FKPD, and it's default. And by the way, I know the style because it's right here on the description. So I'm just going to come down here and choose, FKPD. I haven't changed that yet. I thought it was that style that I created. Maybe that was the FIR. Let me see if I hit iron pin. That's not it either. Okay, so I'm going to pause this and actually I'll just bring back my table here, and it should be the triangle with a dot in it. So I'm going to pause that and come back in a second. All right, I'm back. And we know that from looking at the PDF that this point number 1 on the table is, again, this FKPD, and it should be a triangle with a dot in it. And if I click in here, from my prior assignment, I had named that an STA or station. So I'm going to need to update this in my settings. So if I come over to settings, I'm going to find STA, right click and edit. And I'm simply going to change this name to FKPD. And my title that I want for that is this found nail and disc. And click OK. So I'm kind of cleaning up. So this here's this point. It's now FKPD. And notice the description matches the style. That's going to be a repeating theme in Civil 3D. There are so many names that we want to make sure that each level of name and description tends to be identical. All right, so the next point that we're going to do along the way should be this circle with an X in it, and that should be our custom point called this FIR. Simply select this point, and there's the description of FIR, and here is the point style itself, and I have the point style. And I am looking for a particular property. And we're assuming it's going to work. Okay, so the next point wants to be an FKPD. I'll click in here, change the style to FKPD. Good to go. Move on to the next point, should be a POT. And you can see what's going to happen here. We're just going to continue this on around. So I am going to, at this point, pause, finish that up, and maybe I'm not. So the POT doesn't have a style. So I'm going to go find this, click on it, and find its style is bound. I'm going to head to my settings, select and right click on bound and edit. And I'm going to name that one or change that name to POT and its description to point of tangency. Click OK. Come back down here, and my next point is, boy, I always have more than one selected. So point of tangency, which is this POT. And then the next point needs to be the FDR. I have to zoom in really close. Notice there's 2 points here. I want the top one. I want the top one, FDR. And then I want this bottom one. There we go. And it should be FKPD. Got it. Come down to the next point down here, which should be FI. The next two are FIR. So in this particular case, here's an example, right? I can select both points at once and change the style of both points to FIR. Okay, so these points are here. The symbols look really large compared to the geometry that we want to put in. And this symbol is considered annotation. I know that the final scale that I want for my annotation on the layout is going to be 1 inch equals 10 feet. So I'll select that now. And now those points become really, really small, which kind of shows that, hey, this parcel of land is pretty large. Okay, so points are created. I'm going to end this section. And in the next section, we'll create a layout and draw some lines. Hope this is helpful, and we'll see you in the next section.